if you have a kid and all you have to do is confuse him about genders, right? If you're confused about gender, you have gender dysphoria, and basically then you can be that means you're trans to these people, right? So if you have a 2-year-old, or 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5 years, and you keep telling them over and over again, nobody knows what your gender is. All the adults, there's 8 billion adults on this planet, and none of them know what your gender is. Only you can tell me what your gender is. You, the 2-year-old. You, the 5-year-old. Okay? Only you know what your gender is. No one can tell you what it is. Okay? And you're telling a 2-year-old he has 100 genders. Okay? First of all, the child doesn't even can't count to 10 yet, right? So if he can't count to 10, obviously if you're giving him numbers like 100, right there you're confusing him, right? And how are you going to understand the concept of gender when you can't even understand the concept of counting to 10? You know what I'm saying? All right? So, how do you, that'd be like if I tell my kid that he's going to get cancer, and I tell him from 2 years old all the way up. Yeah, sooner or later he's going to start being a hypochondriac thinking he has cancer. You know what I mean? But yeah, so if you tell a kid from 2 years old no one knows your gender, and it's like Pokemon cards, and you can switch them and trade them with your friends. You know what I mean? There's 100 of them, whole bunch, and they're going to name all the, to this little 5-year-old, this little 3-year-old, they're going to name 100 genders that have all freaky, weird names, right? And that's going to confuse him, right? Now he has gender dysphoria. That means they got to take him to a psychologist, according to the government, according to the public school, according to the woke. You need to take him to the psychologist, right? The psychiatrist. And we know, you'll see in future videos, the psychiatrist is going to immediately say, hey, if you're confused about your gender, then you got to start on some, start changing your name, start changing your clothes, change birth certificate, start getting hormone therapy. Keep in mind, that puberty blockers, automatically when you do that to your kid, you have now sterilized your kid. You have sterilized them. You have let a 5-year-old, or I guess they wait till they're 10, but it's getting lower and lower every year, you know what I mean? You let a 10-year-old decide to do this. What do you... A 10-year-old cannot decide if they want to be sterile or not. That's not even... That's ridiculous. So basically, if you do this, you're creating a gender dysphoric kid by you're confusing him. That's what gender dysphoria is. You're confusing them about their gender. And when a kid is under puberty, he really doesn't have a gender. There is no gender. I mean, you do have a gender, but it's not predominant. You know what I mean? Once you're 10 or 12 or whatever puberty comes, right? That makes you you might have a feminine boy, right? And he's real feminine, he don't like to whatever, and then all of a sudden puberty hits, and he just changed like that. He ain't feminine no more. Once he's out there playing football and doing whatever, man. When you get your hormones, that equalizes that, and your gender is only like 1% or whatever of what it should be. And then once your hormones come out, you get 100% of it. You know what I mean? And you can tell your kid, direct him so that he knows what to do, and so when he goes out into society, he has like these kids, these little boys. What's going to happen when they're 18? They're 6 foot tall, 250 pounds, and then they're impotent too, right? If they're going to get the puberty blockers, it doesn't. They think that you can stop your puberty and then just start it back up whenever you want. No, once you stop it, that's it. You'll never get it again. So that means if your your penis is this size, right? And then you take your puberty blockers. Yeah, you're going to be 50 years old. Your penis is still going to be the size of a baby. Okay, and it's not going to work. Okay, you're going to be impotent. All right. have your kid, you sterilized them, and you have also made them impotent for the rest of their lives. You've taken sex away. How are they going to have a normal relationship? Who's going to want to have a relationship with that? You're sterilized, and your penis doesn't even work, and on top of that, it looks so small like a 10-year-old would have. But these people don't care.
This one has a penis. It's a boy. This one has a vulva. It's a girl. Congratulations. Whoa. Let's hit the brakes, people. The way your body looks on the outside is only part of the story.
Notice how they have a child. See, this new movement, they want our society to be child-led, because that makes sense. Put a child in charge. You have a little kid here telling a doctor and 2 grown adults what gender is. This is ridiculous, and you'll see in my future videos here, this is a common thing.
What? Stay with me, gang. This is important. Hi, little one. Your sex refers to your physical body parts, remember? But there is also something called gender, which is how you feel inside your body and who you know yourself to be.
No, pause. You know what that's called? It's called a personality. We need to just get rid of this idea of gender and just have personality. There's male if you have a penis, there's women if you have a vagina, there's intersex if you intersex, and then we keep it pushing. Other than that, it's literally your personality.
And your gender, how you feel on the inside, doesn't always match the sex you were called when you were born. Okay. Let's say you were born with a penis and you feel like a boy inside. In that case, your sex and your gender match.
Well, what if you were born with a penis and you know you're a girl inside, not a boy?
Let's unpack the little that we have so far. We're talking about people who cannot vote, cannot drink, cannot drive, can't do any of these things, can't consent to sex, none of that. But we're saying that in their head they know for sure they are that gender. How about we just let them grow up and let things play out? And if they are 21, past 18, whatever, and they really still think that they are the opposite gender, then they can deal with it then. But you know how confusing it has to be for these little kids out here to hear that? You know how confusing that would have been?
It's the show Muppet Babies, in which Gonzo comes out as a gender-fluid cross-dresser. Yes, really. Let's watch.
There you are! You missed our royal ball! We met the most amazing princess! But they ran away, and all they left behind was this.
Everyone, there's something I need to tell you. The princess who came to your ball tonight was me. Gonzarella.
But Gonzo, why didn't you tell us?
Because you all expected me to look a certain way. I don't want you to be upset with me, but I don't want to do things just because that's the way they've always been done either. I want to be me.
Oh, Gonzo, we're sorry. It wasn't very nice of us to tell you what to wear to our ball. You are a friend, and we love you any way you are.
Oh, yeah, of course we do.
Yeah. See, this is why it's so important to have a father in the home.
Hey, Blue, look at all these families. Hi, families. It's time for a pride parade. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. This family has 2 mommies. They love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Families marching 4 by 4, hurrah, hurrah. Families marching 4 by 4, hurrah, hurrah. Trans members of this family all love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Come join the fun!
This, by the way, is a show for preschoolers. Okay, like 3-year-olds. Pushing drag queens and pansexuals. Do you know?
And you will see in this story here, right? This guy, you'll hear him. He's saying, hey, I'm non-binary and I had a tough life. My kid is white, and he's naming off these. He got white privilege and stuff like that. I can't have that. Him getting he admits he's giving his kid gender dysphoria. He admits it. He says he wants them to be like him. All parents do. No, they don't actually. If I was gay, I would not wish that my kid would be gay, because he'd have an easier life if he was straight. right? I mean, that's just like common sense, man. Just like if I was trans, I wouldn't wish it on my kid. I wish them to just be regularly, what biology tells you to be. Why would you want, the problems of being trans or gay? Even if society accepts you, it's always going to give you some kind of mental problem. You know what I mean? Some kind of depression or sadness or whatever, because you're broken. You know what I mean? If you're trans, you're broke, and if you're gay, you're broke too. That's not the way it's supposed to work. If everyone was gay, the species would die. So obviously, you know what I mean? But you'll see him say that he don't care. He's actually doing this to his kid on purpose. On purpose. Because if he has to be, see, he's this type of person. If he's let's say we threw him in a hole with his kid, right? He can't climb out of the hole, and the hole is filling up with cement that you can't stand on. It's like liquidy cement, so he's gonna die. Okay, and he can take his little kid, right, his 10-year-old, and throw him out of the hole, right? He could do that, or he could just let the kid stay in the hole and then both die. He would be the kind of dad that left the kid in with them, just so that, hey, if I'm gonna die, he's gonna have to die then too. I was, people picked on me when I was little, so and I gotta have my kid picked on too. It's a small price to pay for social justice, is what he says. His kid having gender dysphoria, and now the kid's gonna be screwed up now. That doesn't mean anything. It's meaningless to him, because social justice is all that matters to this. Not his own child, okay? And then he sends him to a kid. This kid, he sends him to a school, and you'll hear it in the thing. They don't care. They don't care probably about nothing. They care about creativity and something else, I forget. But they're worried about identity and creativity. Basically a bunch of crap that don't help anyone in life, you know what I mean? And now this kid's going to grow up, he's not going to, all the normal girls, he's not going to fit into that man's, traditional role or whatever. So they're not going to want him as much, okay? And they could have just brought him up regular, and then he'd go out in the world and he'd be, women would be attracted to his masculine part of him, you know what I mean? But they took that away from him for social justice. They gave him on purpose gender dysphoria in the name of social justice, their own child. And when he's wearing dresses and he's 18 years old, see, that's the thing. When you're 3 years old up to 10 years old or whatever, and even higher than that, but let's just say those ages, right? Your brain is being rewired as it's grown, because it's a new brain, right? It's a new brain. So as you learn stuff, it gets wired up a specific way, right? So if he wears these dresses, his brain is going to be wired up so that he likes dresses, right? And yeah, sure, even if he likes dresses when he's a little kid or whatever, and he's not trans, you don't let your kid do that, because it wires up the brain different. Then he's going to be 18 years old still wearing these dresses. And what girl's going to want them? And yes, I know there's women out there or whatever, but don't you want your kid to have the biggest percentage of, chance of success? That just takes away. So when you got your 2-year-old or whatever, 3-year-old, they got sisters, they got the mother, they want to emulate them, you know what I mean? It has nothing to do with trans stuff, they just want to emulate, Every little boy wanted to put on makeup if their mother put on makeup, or, you know what I mean? Every little boy wanted to put a dress on if he had his mother that wore dresses around all the time, okay? It's about emulation, all right? But if you're normal, right, your kid wants to emulate the girl, you tell them, no, you can't emulate the women, you know what I mean? If he's playing with Barbie dolls or something, because he's got sisters, well, you don't stop that, okay? But when he is by himself, where he's got his friends, and he's trying to do this girly baby, or whatever, or he wants to put a dress on, you tell him no. Why? Because then it won't be, as his brain is being wired up, right? it won't be wired up saying I like dresses. Right?